Story time about how my boss confessed to me that he likes me and now he's pressuring me to go out with him. Disclaimers in all my story time, send me on Instagram. I've been working at my job for 6 months now. Ever since I started, my boss has been very, very nice to me. If he gets himself coffee, he usually brings me one, and he always offers to buy me my lunch. Of course, I usually say no because I always bring my lunch with me. And also, I just think it's weird that he's always offering. Several times I caught him staring at me, and he would offer to do random things, like walk me to my car. In other words, he was showing a lot of interest. At first, I just wanted to believe that he was just a really nice guy, but I noticed that he wasn't that way with anyone else except for me. So anytime that he would offer to do something for me, or if he would bring me coffee, I made sure to say thank you and seem grateful. I told my boyfriend about my boss, and my boyfriend was convinced that my boss liked me. He told me I shouldn't be as nice as I was, but I didn't want to seem ungrateful or rude. A few weeks ago, we had an office party. Of course, my boyfriend came along with me and everything was fine. Everyone brought their husbands and wives, including my boss. By the way, his wife is super beautiful and really nice. She even had the party catered by one of the best restaurants in town. As my boyfriend and I were heading home, he turns to me and tells me, "Your boss definitely likes you." I asked him why he thought that, and he said that my boss couldn't stop staring at me the whole night. That's when my boyfriend insisted that I should just quit. We got into a huge argument that night. Part 2 is up. Story time about how my boss confessed to me that he likes me and now he's pressuring me to date him. Part 2. My boyfriend told me that my boss had been staring at me the whole night. Then he started insisting that I should just quit my job. We basically fought the entire night. I told him I would never quit my job and that my boss was harmless. But it turns out that my boyfriend was right. When I went back to work, my boss started asking me a lot of questions about my boyfriend. He asked me how long we'd been together, if the relationship was serious, if we lived together. He tried to make it seem casual. In the 5th question, I asked my boss if he was okay. And he laughs and says, "I just want to make sure you got a good guy with you." But he sounded so jealous instead. A few days later, I caught my boss staring at me again. And this time I got really annoyed. I stared back at him and waved. That's when he waved back and smiled at me. At the end of the day, he offered to walk me to my car. And I said yes. As we were walking to my car, he starts telling me that he thought I looked really pretty at the party. And that he wanted to confess that he couldn't stop staring at me all night. That's when I turned to him and I said, "Yeah, my boyfriend noticed." He responds, "Well, your boyfriend's very lucky to be with you." And that I was clearly asking for attention with the dress that I wore. By the way, my dress was a long sleeve turtleneck that went below my knees. That's when he says, "There's nothing wrong with a little flirtation." Part 3 is up. Story time about how my boss confessed to me that he likes me and now he's pressuring me into dating him. After he told me that there was nothing wrong with us flirting, I told him it was totally inappropriate and that I didn't feel comfortable with that. He then laughed and said, "You'll loosen up eventually." I went home and I told my boyfriend everything. My boyfriend went berserk. He started insisting that I quit again. I told him I could handle the situation, that my boss was not going to do anything to me. He then got so mad that he actually left to his parents' house. He told me he would come back to live with me after I quit. But here's the thing, if the tables were turned, I would never ask my boyfriend to quit his job because his boss was flirting with him. I love my job and I don't think it's fair that I have to quit because my boss is flirting with me. Instead, I decided that I would go back to work and simply ignore my boss. But this actually had the opposite effect. My boss started coming on to me even stronger. He came up to me while I was having lunch and asked me if I was ignoring him. I was honest and said yes, a little. That's when he told me that we should talk after work. He walked me to my car and on the way, he told me that he likes me and that he's liked me since the day I started working there. He even said that it's pretty much the only reason why I got the job. But then of course he complimented me on all my work. As he was saying all of this, I just stayed quiet. I really didn't know how to respond. That's when my boss tells me that we should go on a date and that we could have a fruitful relationship. I love my job so much, I'm actually considering saying yes to at least one date. My boyfriend is still not talking to me, by the way. Now my boss even sends me text messages telling me how good I look in the office. And no, I can't report him to anybody. And I don't want to jeopardize my job. Last week, my boss even gave me a raise. And to be honest, I'm really happy about it. My dream is to buy myself a house. But at what cost? Should I say yes to just one date? Or should I say no and suffer the consequences? Or should I quit? But that's not fair either. What do you guys think I should do? Should I confess to my boyfriend that I'm cheating on him with his dad? My boyfriend and I have been dating for 3 years. I have to admit, our relationship is pretty boring. He's not the most fun guy, and he doesn't really ever make me laugh a lot. On the other hand, I'm always making him laugh. I put all those things aside because he is a very good person, and he does take care of me. His job requires him to be away from work for 6 to 8 months. He works on a boat, so this means I have a lot of time to myself. No, I never cheated on him before his dad came along, but let me explain. My boyfriend did not grow up with his dad. His dad went to prison a long time ago for something he stole. No, it wasn't something terrible. When his dad got out of prison, my boyfriend was already 20 years old. My boyfriend didn't like the idea of his dad coming to live with him and his mom, so they had a lot of fights. But his dad made every effort to try to make his son comfortable. The first time I met my dad's boyfriend, I noticed that he was very good looking. He was also in amazing shape. He loves to read books and listen to music, and he even started his own business as soon as he got out of prison, which is already doing well. He told my boyfriend to quit his job and to work for him, but my boyfriend refused. So my boyfriend had to go away for his job, which meant he was going to be away for 6 months. During this time, I decided to visit his mom as much as I could so that she wouldn't get lonely. And this is when things started heating up with his dad. Part 2 is up. Should I confess to my boyfriend that I'm cheating on him with his dad? When my boyfriend left for work for 6 months, I started going to visit his mom and his dad every single week. His mom and dad were still married, but they were not together. So it's not like the dad had to be loyal to the mom. My boyfriend's mom would usually cook dinner, I would eat with her, and then I would sit down to watch a movie with her sometimes. His dad would sometimes join us, but not all the time. Like I mentioned, my boyfriend's dad is very good looking. He caught me staring at him a few times. And I'll admit, I was really embarrassed, but at the same time, I kinda didn't care. One night when I was watching a movie with her, she told me that she was gonna go to bed. I told her I would go home, but then she said no. She told me I should stay to finish watching the movie. That's when my boyfriend's dad comes over and sits on the couch with me. And he says, "I'll keep you company." As we were watching the movie, I could feel the tension. And I loved it. I hadn't felt anything like this in the whole time that I was with my boyfriend. I mean, my boyfriend and I rarely even kissed. When the movie finished, I got up and turned the television off. He also gets up from the couch. That's when he grabbed my hand and turned me around. He grabbed my face and started kissing me. And I have to admit, I loved it. He pulled me into a corner and we kept kissing for a few minutes. That's when he asked me if I wanted to go upstairs with him and I said yes. And we did it. And it was actually amazing. Yes, I did feel guilty, but I wanted to live my life and enjoy these moments. And unfortunately, my boyfriend just didn't give that to me. We were inseparable after that. Part 3 is up. Should I confess to my boyfriend that I'm cheating on him with his dad? After we did the you know what, my boyfriend's dad and I were inseparable. He would come over to my apartment almost every single night and just sleep over. And this became a routine. It's like we couldn't keep our hands off each other and we loved it. And not once did we ever talk about my boyfriend, his son. This went on the entire time my boyfriend was gone. A few days before my boyfriend arrived, his dad and I decided that we would just try to stay away from each other when he was home. Well, let me tell you, it didn't last very long. My boyfriend came home and I felt nothing. It was just like before he left. He barely even kissed me and we went back to our regular life. So I called his dad up and we started meeting in different fancy hotels around the city. It was so fun and exciting. After a few weeks, I noticed that my boyfriend really changed. He was barely touching me and didn't really want anything to do with me. So I confronted him. And I know I have no right, but I wanted to find out what was going on. My boyfriend told me that he felt our relationship was stale, and I told him that I agreed. That's when he told me that we should separate. But we're technically still together. Now here's my problem. I think I just want to break up with my boyfriend, but I want to get with his dad, as in make it official. But his dad told me that he would never make it official with me. So now I'm stuck. I really like him and I have so much fun with him. Also, should I just tell my boyfriend the truth? What do you guys think I should do?